So I often think about people wanting the good old days. And, they talk about how things were so much better in the past, or, that they reminisce that there was some period of time in history that was better. Often I talk about the 1950s or, some sort of time in history. And you pick that sort of time, maybe it was like the sort of dream of living in the woods, for example. But I think about this very simple thing, right? So I pick a certain category of my life, whatever that particular category is. So I'm thinking right now in terms of headaches. And then I think, what would it have been like 50 years ago? I would have had chronic headaches every week. I get migraines quite often, and I also get headaches from being dehydrated. I live in Florida, and it's very easy to get dehydrated here. So I would have splitting headaches that would last almost the entire day for me. And without medication, I take Tylenol. I also take this medication called Nurtec, some migraine medication. That would happen without that medication that has only been available in the last 30 years. I would have had to have had splitting headaches every single day. And that is only one category of my life. When I think about other things, other small categories of my life, such as, you know, such as if I would have gotten a cracked finger. Sometimes that happens. It's an annoyance often, but we didn't have splints for a very long time. We didn't know about the fact that you can make splints in the way that they do that are pretty comfortable. Um, you know, any number of different areas of your life, if you just simply pick it, like, wait a minute, it's actually phenomenally better today than it ever has been 30 years ago or 40 years ago, or you pick the time and it's phenomenally better. It's a little better today from 10 years ago, but it is phenomenally better from 20 years ago to 30 years ago. And I would never want to go back to those particular moments. There are a few things where, we're maybe not doing the best at as a whole, and that we can improve in any given sort of part of our life. There's always these kind of things that happen. But if you look at long run trends, that's what I always look at. That's how I think about the world. That's how I invest. That's how I do most things. Is I just think about these super long run trends that are really kind of boring. And I think my life is going to be spectacular, even though, I don't know for sure, and things can change. My life is going to be even more spectacular 30 years from now that I can't even imagine. I don't know what that looks like. I will be old at that point. I'll be in my 70s, but I'll get to see miracles happen that we couldn't even realize would have happened. And I can't wait for that. I feel every day, I know that there are days that are hard to get up, but I also feel like a kid in the candy store often. And I think about all these sort of really amazing opportunities we still have that are ahead of us and that we're going to see. And I'm so excited to see all of these kind of things because there's still a lot of stuff that we can think about. And here's the thing, right? Like even those things where we think that we have it solved. So for example, headaches, right? Like I take Tylenol, um, or I take acetaminophen, and if if that was the end result, that would be fine. But that is a really, really crude way of actually doing medication. And that stuff is actually not 100% great for you. You can overdose on it, and it could be quite harmful for you. And it's easy to overdose on it. But, and the other thing is, you know, for a very pinpointed location of pain, you have to treat the whole body with this medication. And that is not great, right? So there's a ton of room for improvement. There's always miracles that will happen that are really exciting. I saw um, that there's this advertisement right now for a pain reliever, Tylenol, basically a Tylenol cream that you just rub on a certain location. And I think, like, hey, that is a great idea. Why are we treating all of our body for this one particular location? So, that there's a lot that we can live for, and there's always modern miracles that happen all the time. And I don't know, I think in my view, yes, there's lots of times where, things don't feel as good in terms of waking up and getting going. This week was a time change. Time changes are always tough. I feel a little grumpy every once in a while, but it's also, um, when I take a pause and I look, it's a modern miracle. Everything is remarkable around me. Like it's exciting. It's it's so cool to see things. And yes, there's moments that where there's things that we need to change, right? We use far too many plastics, um, or the plastics that we have are not great for the environment. There are changes that we need to make with automobiles and our electricity, all this kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that we can't necessarily solve those things, right? Like people are gonna solve these things, and it's gonna be super cool to see. Or maybe here's the thing that's even more exciting is that we think very linearly, right? We think like, hey, we have this problem, we need to solve that particular problem, right? So, something with the pollution that's coming out of an exhaust pipe. And by the way, um, I don't know why people are not up in arms about it. I remember when I was a kid, sticking my head behind the car and feeling dizzy from the crap that was coming behind an exhaust. I don't know why people like that. Um, it's not a great feeling. But here's the thing, right? We think that's the problem that's going to be solved. It's going to be a very linear thing, but it might be something completely different that you never think about that solves that particular issue. We might not even be traveling around in cars. We might not, we might have a much different view of how the world actually works in a much different way because somebody thought of something that completely changed how things were done. And I think about all of that. Like we're living in miracles every day, and people just don't take advantage of it. Or they don't think about how cool this actually is. And we're constantly in a state of 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 change that is just miraculous. At the end of the day, it's just miraculous. You pick the area that you want to look at, and you find that in that little wee area, no matter what it is of your life, there has been some modern miracle that is exciting and makes all of us better off. So instead of thinking how awful the world actually is, let's start thinking about how incredible the world actually is.